It's good to be back with y'all, and I'm so excited about the opportunity that you're going to have this morning to hear from these incredible leaders. And I really appreciate Ken organizing this, and I'm thrilled to have the chance to be a part of it. We have 3 leaders from our community here in Tulsa, and these women are folks who I've had the chance to both admire from afar and in at least a couple of cases work with closely. And when I think about my roles that I've had in Tulsa, and when I think about the work of this church and of this class in particular, I think about the ways in which what we do together is maximized by folks who do the kind of work that you're getting ready to hear about. And I'm really thrilled that you're going to have this opportunity. So we have, as I said, 3 leaders here with us. You might recognize Kathy Rad. So Kathy is the director of Harmony Project and also plays cello here at the church quite often, like at Easter. Yeah, special occasions like Christmas and things like that. So you'll recognize her now. Now you're going to see her every time she's up there. And then Jennifer Bjornberg, who is the director of the Aim High Academy, and Nancy Belsley, who is the founder and director of the Pencil Box here in Tulsa. And each of these leaders are going to share with you a little bit about their leadership story, the work they do, and then we're going to have a chance for you to engage with them and to ask questions. So think about those while we're going. We'll have time at the end for you to do that. So with that, Kathy, would you like to dive in?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. I'll stand up this time. Okay, so I'm Kathy Rad, and I'm honored to be here, actually. I am the executive director of Harmony Project Tulsa. We're one of 9 affiliates in our nation. It started in LA in 2001. With our founder, Dr. Margaret Martin. It started with 30 kids, and it has grown to over 4,000. We serve pre-K through high school, graduation, and sometimes beyond. And it's a music mentoring program. I discovered Harmony Project when I was the education director for the Tulsa Symphony in the late 2000, and I was like, I know how much music did for me when I was growing up in St. Louis. I play the cello. It changed my life. It gave me feelings of accomplishment, self-confidence, teamwork, just and joy, and it was the coolest thing ever. And I decided I wanted to major in music, so I went to the University of Tulsa, got a full scholarship, and played with the Tulsa Philharmonic and all those since then, and have lived here. Now I live in Sapulpa. But what we do is we change students' lives. We try to fill the gap for those who have and don't, and just bring people together through music and all the benefits that it can have. We started at Kendall Whittier Elementary in 2013 with 15 students, and what we do is we give them at least 5 hours of music instruction, and then tutoring in their work if they need it, which most of them do, every day. And we start in pre-K and go through high school graduation here. They learn from really great musicians who, they're some of the best, who want to share their knowledge with these kids and really care about them. And we just follow them. And it's really cool because right now we're getting to see some of the students who are finally graduating. And I mean, we've got like the concert master at Edison was our student, and he's probably going to get through us a scholarship through the Daddario Foundation, who makes the guitar strings and all that. You know, we just try to hook up all our connections to make it great for these kids. I also, for 3 years, was the music coordinator of Tulsa Public Schools, It was 20, I don't know how to say my years, but through 2002, 1999, and excuse me, at that time I saw how much need there was with 80 schools, and there was just so much. There were some kids who, it just wasn't even. It wasn't good for the kids. Some of them, they're like, yes, we've had our private, our parents have paid for our lessons, and, we've got our great instruments, and, it just didn't seem fair. And so we make it fair for all of the kids that are in their program. We provide instruments. We give them private lessons weekly with people from the symphony and great musicians. We do performances all over. When they perform, like one of our first performances was for the Food Bank of Oklahoma, when our little kids that were aged, they were like 4 through 7, performed on this huge stage in front of thousands of people. They were like, but they did really well, and to see everybody stand up and cheer and want them to play more, the amount of confidence that it does for them and their families is amazing. We actually help whole families with this because it makes the parents who've had a hard time want to do better, and they have. So we're now serving over 600 students, and our kids are making all-state orchestra. We're beating like Broken Arrow, Jinx, Union. Yesterday, I took kids to a solo and ensemble, and we got all superior ratings for these kids. And at least, well, all of the kids, I also teach at Thoreau Demonstration Academy. I started a string program there. And wherever I teach, I put the kids in harmony projects. So they came from not doing anything to, if you just see their faces when they see that they get a 1, and the things you have to go through, you have to go play for a judge, and you're like, and they've never done this before, and it's really, you can just watch what it does for them. And of course they do better in all their academics. We prove that nationally. Our founder, Margaret Martin, has been in the Wall Street Journal, and works with Northwestern University, and just as we've got their donors for Harmony Project LA, where she won the education award from the White House 2 times. She won some major awards from Obama. They actually donate to them. I'm just scattered. I didn't write a speech.
Make sure to make between their academics.
Yes. Yes, thank you. Like at Kendall Whittier, when we first started, we did a connection of all the students in our program, and we were able to look at the testing, and our students outperformed their peers who were not in their program, in our program, in reading, math. It was like 70%. It was like, whoosh. And then behavioral instances, school attendance, and a lot of these people are becoming leaders. Like one of our students worked for the mayor's office, Jonathan Townsend, and just different people. What it does for them is just change their lives, and it's through music, and it's so much fun. And some of them do become musicians in major orchestras, but some become brain surgeons and lawyers. And I'm serious, I don't think it would happen without this, because you can go through a bad gang, or you can be in our Harmony Project music gang. So, yeah. And for example, LA, they got to perform in the Super Bowl. Their students performed in the Super Bowl. Can you imagine what that does? How that makes you feel when you're come from the worst place? And it was like with Beyonce, Bruno Mars. Okay. Yes. Okay, so we started at Kendall Whittier, and we wanted that to be an example for the district. It takes a while to do this because there's so many, but we wanted to go to McClure, and I believe this is our 4th year at McClure. We have guitar, choir, drums. We also utilize whoever's teaching at the school after school if they want to do it. And their teacher, Jamie Dunnigan, is awesome. She used to play percussion in the Tulsa Philharmonic, and she, one year during the pandemic, we got bucket drums donated from Lowe's and gave them to everybody in our program. It was like hundreds and hundreds. And drumsticks from Daddario, and Jamie uses them still for the bucket band and guitars, and they go perform and sing everywhere, and they're awesome. So I'm just rambling because I didn't.
No, we're good.
Yeah.
We can move on.
Yes, and then you could just ask any questions because I'm sure I skipped over 5,000 things, but you're welcome.
That's so wonderful. I brought my timer because I can tend to start talking and telling stories, and so I'm going to make sure I honor my time here. But my name is Jennifer Bjornberg, and I am the founding and executive director of Aim High Academy. And in order to just kind of talk about my passion and how Aim High started, I have to go back a little bit to my childhood. My parents enrolled me in the sport of gymnastics when I was 4 years old. At the age of 5, I found myself, when I was in my spare time playing in my room, my dolls would all become gymnasts, and I would have a coach. And so I would be making them go through all their moves, and the coach would judge and give points and stuff. So I've actually been coaching since I was 5 years old. But fast forward, went to the University of Oklahoma and was blessed to have a part-time job while I was at OU coaching at the Bart Conner Gymnastics Academy. So gymnastics and coaching has always been in my blood. Moved back to Tulsa and became the head coach at Tulsa World of Gymnastics. While I was coaching there, I started volunteering up in North Tulsa. And volunteering through the John 3:16 mission, working with students, picking them up. That passion grew inside of me. I already had the passion for gymnastics, but the passion for kids in North Tulsa just began to grow inside my heart. And my friends and I kind of launched our own ministry through a downtown church. It was called Crossover, and we would put on programs for kids, and we were mentoring kids, and at times, sometimes picking up 75 to 100 kids and putting on programs and taking them to camps and doing all kinds of things. But through that experience, a lot of kids that I was working with, I saw 13 and 14-year-old girls that we were already throwing baby showers for. And I saw lots of boys at this time that were, 14, 15 years old that were already being, recruited by some gangs, and older brothers and sisters that were participating in stuff. And so some of them even already had police records and whatnot. So I was coaching gymnastics by day, and then in the evenings and on the weekends, I was in North Tulsa. And God began to give me a vision to combine both of my passions. So he began to show me how in gymnastics we can start kids so young, at the age of even 2 years old. And it's a very disciplined sport. And I started thinking about how, something like gymnastics could change their lives. I had asked repeatedly of the kids that I was working with, what do you guys do on the weekends? What did you guys do this weekend? And a lot of times, oh, nothing, just stayed home, and I just kept thinking they need something like gymnastics. A lot of these girls that I was discipling need something in their lives. And so God just began to give me that vision. I stayed where I was comfortable and just kind of kept doing what I was doing for a couple of years, even while Lord was planting these seeds. Finally, in 2007, I said, okay, yes, Lord, if this is what you want me to do, you want me to start a gymnastics program, I'll do it. I don't know how, but I will trust. And so in 2007, I started a gymnastics program called Aim High Academy at the John 316 Family and Youth Center. They donated space on their basketball court when they weren't using it, and I was able to raise about $5,000 to get started, to buy a few mats and a few low beams and stuff. And so started from there, and what God did to bless us was just really incredible by that. So that was in February, and by that summer, we were already needing our own space. I had about 40 kids that were wanting to come and take classes and stuff, and so we just began to grow, and eventually I was able to start raising more support to where I wasn't juggling both things, being a gymnastics coach, the head coach at a club full-time, and doing this. I was actually able to combine and actually work for Aim High Academy and get paid for it. But in 2015, we were in a really nice facility that we were leasing. We had 274 kids enrolled in the program. Things were going great. And it was on March 25th of 2015 that a tornado came and hit our building. I don't know if you remember hearing about that in the news, but we had a little over 40 kids that were in the building that night with the coaches. We had a basement that we were able to take them to, which is a blessing, here in Tulsa, to be in an old grocery store. We just so happened to have a basement. Like God has bigger plans. But anyway, so that night was really scary for us. We did have, firefighters that showed up. One by one, took all the kids out of the basement. God protected us that night. After that happened, I remember just, okay, what's my message going to be? Because it's so important as a leader that I deliver, the correct message. And I really felt like what God was telling me was tell everyone that they're going to have a front row seat to a miracle in the making. And so I claimed that, I believed it, and that's what I told them. And lo and behold, a little time passed, and we were without a facility at the time. We had a couple of places that were letting us we were able to take some equipment in. There was a club in Owasso that let our team kids go and practice there. And we were introduced to a man by the name of Tom Noggle. He's a businessman from Sand Springs, and Tom donated $1 million to Aim High. And long story short, we were able to buy a state-of-the-art gymnastics facility, which was Tulsa World of Gymnastics, that had been in business for 40 years, where I formerly coached. So really big full circle moment there. And that was about 10 years ago since the tornado. And, what I told those kids is they're going to have a front row seat to a miracle in the making. That truly happened, and they got to witness that for themselves. I remember doing a Bible study with the kids in the gym, some of our team kids. At the time, we went through a Bible study through Nehemiah of how Nehemiah was, going back to build the temple and how God provided all the resources and all the people and the help that he needed. So that was what we taught them. They got to see that come true for them, which was truly amazing. And NBC came and did a big story on it and everything. It was incredible. And what has happened since then has been truly amazing. And I'm just, every time I think about it, I think about the verse that God gave me. It was Ephesians 3:20. And it's the verse that talks about how God can do more than we could ever ask or imagine. And that's certainly what he has done for Aim High. We now serve nearly 800 kids weekly. We have a scholarship program for kids from low-income families. We have about 165 kids currently that are on scholarship at Aim High, and we teach Christian values and principles through the sport of gymnastics and through ninja classes. If any of you have seen American Ninja Warrior on TV, we have ninja classes that have all the fun obstacles that kids get to go through and stuff. But we put Christian role models in front of our kids as coaches. We pray with our kids. Our team members do Bible studies, and it's just amazing, what God has done since then. I'm checking my time here. And one of the coolest things that he has done is there's a gymnast that went through the tornado with me. She was only, I think, 8 years old at the time. But her name was Sheridan Ramsey, and she was an incredible gymnast, and she went on to compete for the University of Oklahoma as on their gymnastics team. She's a 2-time national champion, and this past May, Sheridan came back and became the head coach at Aim High Academy, which was really incredible for me. Again, full circle moment that one of my students would want to come and give back to the generation that is rising up at Aim High now, and we have about 20 of our former students, former gymnasts that are now teaching classes at AM High as well. Mostly of them are part-time, but Sheridan's full-time, taking over the program. And so that has enabled me to move into the executive director position, because I had been coaching up until this past year, as well as being the executive director. So now I'm able just to focus on being the executive director and, relationships with our donors and our fundraising events, which we do 2 fundraising events each year. We put on an event in the fall called Gold Medal Night, and it's kind of your typical gala. But we always bring in a superstar gymnast that comes in and gives a speech and also comes and visits the kids and inspires them. And then we host a gymnastics competition called the Dream Meet. And we do that in downtown Tulsa every Martin Luther King Jr. weekend. So we just finished that up recently, and we had nearly 1,000 athletes from 5 states that came to Tulsa and competed in the Dream Meet, and that was another big fundraiser for us. And so we just love inspiring kids in the sport of gymnastics, and just also alongside that, watching them grow in their relationship with Christ and trying to give them all of the tools that they need to be able to do that. So that's Aim High Academy.
Thank you, ma'am. Good morning. I have to admit that it's intimidating looking out in the crowd because I know so many of you. So please bear with me. I hope I don't disappoint you. My name is Nancy Belsley. I am the founder and executive director of the Pencil Box. We're a nonprofit here in Tulsa providing school supplies for underserved students. When a student walks into a classroom carrying a backpack full of new school supplies, they aren't just carrying pencils and notepads. They're carrying the promise that someone cares enough about them to invest in their potential. And they carry hope. It's hope that causes a child to believe in himself and to push through the challenges they face in school and at home. It's that hope that causes them to succeed and to dare to dream. I'm fortunate. I was born into a family that was very much committed to answering who is my neighbor. My father was a Lutheran pastor. He was a highly intelligent person with all of the resources and opportunities to do whatever he wanted. And he chose to go into the ministry, much to the dismay of his father, who was also a Lutheran pastor. My dad was high in the Lutheran church, and I grew up with the heads of the church as family friends. My mother was the first and most probably the only volunteer to ever work in a hospital emergency room. She later was on the first board of the Margaret Hudson program. When I was in middle school, I would ride my bike to the nursing home in our neighborhood and visit with the residents. I developed a special relationship with a 90-year-old resident, and in the course of conversation learned that she had never gone to an Easter service. So I asked her if she wanted to go, and she said, yeah, she really did. So I made arrangements with the nurses to pick her up on Easter morning, and the day before, the woman's daughter called my mother, kind of curious as to why we were taking her mother to church with us. The family was Jewish. The daughter said, well, okay. And we picked up the woman, the 90-year-old woman, on Sunday morning. She was dressed in her Sunday best, or perhaps her Saturday best. And anyway, I was in Junior Association, Tulsa Boys Home, chaired numerous events, fundraisers for nonprofits, was in Junior League. One of my Junior League placements was on the committee that created the Child Abuse Network. I was charged with going to the Capitol and writing and passing legislation that created the multidisciplinary approach to investigating child abuse, the Office of Child Abuse Prevention, and the Office of Chief Medical Examiner for Child Abuse. The rule of thumb in the legislature is when you introduce a new concept, it typically takes 3 sessions to pass that concept. We did it the first time around. That led to my becoming a contract lobbyist. Yes, one of those slimy lobbyists right here. I represented about 15 different interests: Cancer Treatment Centers of America, Motorola, all of Roger Hardesty's interests, Oklahoma Consumer Finance Association, Seatbelts Are for Everyone, a residential mental health facility, 15 different clients, a broad spectrum. In 2003, Bruce and I, my husband and I, were tired of my commuting and being gone February through May, and so I quit. That year, we chaired Radio Days for Youth Services, and then I was asked to chair again in 2004. In 2008, we chaired Life Senior Services, Putting on the Dog. In 2004, my husband, Bruce and I visited our son's future in-laws in Cincinnati, Shannon and Lee Carter. Shannon created the concept of a free store for teachers. It evolved out of her Leadership Cincinnati project back in 1995. When I saw her facility, I knew that this was something we needed to do in Tulsa. I came back, as philanthropic as Tulsa is, we didn't have a concerted school supply effort. We had very well-meaning businesses, churches, organizations giving massive amounts of school supplies, and yet the teachers were telling us that the students were coming without. I pitched the idea to the Junior League, and they no longer incubate nonprofits. Tulsa Metropolitan Ministries, the same. Gave the idea to several people, hoping that they would run with it, but they didn't. So finally, in 2012, Bruce and I decided that this was something that needed to happen, and I was going to have to do it. I brought around my dining room table friends of mine who had the expertise and the experience to do this, and confided that I'd never done anything like this, but we would figure it out. I'd never run for office, and I figured it out. I'd never lobbied, and I figured it out. And we would figure this out with their help. We partner with schools throughout all of Tulsa County where 70% or more of the students are living at or below the federal poverty level. We use the Oklahoma Department of Education's low income report to identify those schools. There are currently 77 schools within Tulsa County that are eligible to partner with us. We've invited 71 of those schools, and today we're partnering with 57 schools and over 500 teachers, serving roughly 30,000 students. Since our first distribution in October of 2015, we've given $7.8 million worth of school supplies to students throughout all of Tulsa County. We use a point-of-sale inventory data system. All of our supplies are inventoried and receive our barcode. Our facility looks like a retail, it's a retail setting where the teachers come and they shop specific to the needs of their students and classroom activities. When the teachers check out, our volunteers scan each item, We send a monthly report to our partner principals, and we send semester reports to the principals and to the superintendents, assuring our donors that the supplies are truly following the students and our teachers into the classroom and being used as intended. In order to recognize the time, I'm going to now refer to Ken's suggestions. The challenges. So I've told you my personal story. The challenges. What were the challenges that I faced in the early days? Funding. How did I solve them? I asked, and many of you gave. What makes me unstoppable? I've been told I'm tenacious. I used to have legislators say to me, come in, let me get this over with, because if I don't talk to you now, you'll be at my door tomorrow and tomorrow. Who was my source of encouragement? My husband, my family, and my friends. How have I adapted as my nonprofit has grown? I have learned so much, and I have changed in so many ways. What's unique in my innovative approach, and I think I've explained, but the teachers coming and selecting the supplies, they're getting exactly what they need. You know, I had a teacher tell me that she had a very nice, generous donation of college-ruled composition books given to her for her first grade students. So with our program, the teachers are coming in and getting what they need. Our store is, we call it a store, our free store, is open to teachers every Tuesday and Wednesday after school and the first Saturday of the month. So, and it's throughout the year. It's not just at the beginning of the semester or the beginning of the year. Do we collaborate? Oh, yes, we collaborate. We collaborate with a long list of other nonprofits here in town. City Year, Assistance League, Coffee Bunker, Mental Health Association, Goodwill, Salvation Army, all of them. Oh, measurements. Okay, so how do we measure our impact? Our teachers complete a checkout survey each time they come for supplies, and then they participate in an annual school supply impact survey, which gives us an understanding of the impact our supplies have on school attendance, classroom behavior, class engagement, homework completion. We also know, sadly, that 80% of the students in the schools we serve come to school the first day without school supplies. 82% of the students don't have supplies at home to do their homework, and 84% of the families can't afford to replenish those supplies. What's my vision for the future? I want to be able to bring on sufficient staff that will allow me then to go out into the community, into eastern Oklahoma, and begin working with other communities to create programs like ours based on the community asset-based model, where the pencil box would be the hub, but programs throughout the state would help to identify the needs, the resources within those communities, and how to meet those needs. So, I look forward to your questions.
So I'm filled with admiration and just appreciation, and I know you are too. Let's dive in.
So this is for Nancy. Are the rural schools in the same bad shape that the Tulsa school? In other words, would you think 82% of the people in rural schools don't have supplies as well? Or would you imagine, with your history of working all over Oklahoma, with the legislature, would you imagine they might be a little better than our public schools here in our community?
You know, interestingly, we would think that the rural schools would have a higher need, but no, you're right. It's the interurban schools that has the highest need. Liberty District just became eligible this past year, and there are really 2 schools, but we're going to go ahead and serve all 3 schools because they're on the same campus, and the high school is, 69%, not quite the 70%, but yeah.
So they're better than
And it may not be the economics, it may be that the community itself rallies together and provides the supplies, but we use the percentage of low income to identify those schools. And
where did you have your first cup of Starbucks coffee?
at your front door. And I left with a bag.
Kathy, are your musicians volunteering, or are they paid?
No, we pay. Through the Tulsa Symphony, we're trying to keep people. I play in the Tulsa Symphony. We're trying to keep these great musicians in our town, and in order to supplement their income, we give them more jobs. So it works. It's a winning situation, actually. It makes them, and then they get inspired and want to stay here even more. So we've actually retained some great musicians through our program.
Where do you get instruments?
Oh, we get donations mostly. I've had grants for matching grants. Tulsa Strings, Sades, Tulsa Violin Shop in town usually give us donations. They give us, like, for example, Tulsa Violin Shop downtown. Every couple weeks, he's like, I've got a really good violin for you. We'll give it to a student. For example, we just gave one to this really great 8th grader at Edison who we started right before the pandemic. And she's so incredible, and there's no way. If you heard her, I was like, she's in 8th grade now? I didn't even recognize her. One of my teachers played her video. Her name's Persephone. But she, it's just so amazing to see what happens. And it wouldn't happen. They wouldn't have the opportunity. It's amazing how these kids feel and how it affects everything around them. So, sorry, I'll be quiet.
You'd think I'd never seen Phil Donahue when I was failing to pass this microphone along, but I have.
A question for all of you. Could you describe your funding sources? Where your funds to operate your programs come from?
We are completely privately funded. Businesses, foundations, individuals like yourself. So, yes, like you, Mike.
Do you want to have everybody answer real quick, please?
The same. We rely on just donors from the Tulsa community and beyond, just individual donors, businesses that sponsor our events, and we have relied on foundations here in Tulsa to help us get into our building and renovate our building and all of that. But we also are blessed in that we do have an income stream as a nonprofit as well, that we do have kids that pay regular price along with all of our scholarship kids. We gave away $130,000 in tuition assistance to our scholarship kids last year, and so we raised that money through our events and whatnot. But anyway, that definitely having a revenue stream within our program is wonderful.
We get grants. We were started with the George Kaiser Family Foundation. In 2013, they gave us $50,000 for 3 years. And of course, they had a lot more, but they said they know that there's a lot more people in the community who can donate. And I found those people. I have a very strong donor, personal donor, who has gave us $1 million for the next 5 years. Not every year. But it's just, prorated for 5 years so we can be stable. And then, of course, every Oklahoma Arts Council, Arts Alliance Council, the National Education for Arts Foundation, every Zorro, Chapman, we hit them all, you know. We even got a come and go grant. We've got, you know, it's like come and go. Who would know, you know? So we go everywhere.
When a youngster finishes the course, do they get to keep sorry.
Yes,
yeah.
if they need it, they can give it to them. Yeah, we get so many donated.
I apologize. I am familiar with Sistema, but I have never heard of Harmony Project. Do they work together? Are they two different projects? How does that work?
Yeah, we were gonna be, I was there when Sistema started. They had come to the Tulsa Symphony to meet with us and our education team there and musicians. And the only reason why we didn't do Sistema is because they bus people to their church. And I felt strongly important that we need to go into the communities, because that's what they did in LA. They'll have like a mariachi program for Hispanics. They'll have a jazz program, a hip hop, a classical, you know, and that's how you can meet the kids' needs. I've discovered that not everybody wants to play the cello, although I wish they would, you know. So that's it.
This one's for Aim High. Your scholarships that you're giving, are you seeking young gymnasts? I mean, if they haven't had any gym training, how can you evaluate? That has to be part of the criteria for who you give the scholarship to. Is that they have natural ability, or that they haven't, or not? Are you giving it just because of financial need? That might be tough to answer, but criteria for your scholarship is the basis of the question.
Great question. So any child within the Tulsa community that wants to apply can apply. They don't have to have any gymnastics experience. They can apply to take a beginner's gymnastics class. It can be a 15-year-old that wants to just learn a cartwheel, or it can be, I mean, really anyone or any boys that want to apply for a ninja class or gymnastics. And what they do is they go through the scholarship application is downloading the application on our website. They have to fill out, you know, just their general information about their families, their income. They have to provide proof of proof of their income as a family, and then it goes to our scholarship committee, and then scholarships are awarded more on a sliding scale. You know, so parents that have more dependents and want to put more kids in the program, you know, probably get a little bit more in their scholarship than otherwise. And all of our scholarship families, all of the parents serve volunteer hours, so they're giving back to Aim High for what they're receiving as well. So, yeah.
Okay, so how this is an incredible, as you know, an incredible church, a wonderful group of folks in this Sunday school class. How can we help you? Obviously, donations are always helpful, but are there other things that we could do to be helpful to each of your organizations?
If you wanted to, for example, go to McClure Elementary, they need a lot of help. That's scary over there. And we're trying to, you know, really, they just, I would say, like, maybe mentoring them with their homework, or adopting a student as part of, say, a Harmony Project student, you know, and just being there for them and whatever they need, or just giving them a ride somewhere. But, you know, the academic tutoring, is very helpful. And if they know that they have somebody there that really, if they know you care about them, if they have a special person there, that'll make them do even better. And yes, always financial donations. So.
Anybody else? Sure.
Yes, so ways wonderful people like you can get involved. So we also do outreach events. We partner with different organizations, lots of schools, and we coordinate events, more like parents' night out events, where they can come to Aim High for 3 hours, and we provide them with a gymnastics experience. We'll provide them with a craft, and then also a meal. And so those outreach events are completely free of charge for these nonprofits that we partner with. And so sometimes we have had groups that have brought in the dinner for those events. So if there's a group that wanted to provide a meal for the kids that were coming to one of our outreach events, that's one way a group can get involved. Then we also have our 2 fundraising events that I talked about where we need volunteers. So we need volunteers at the Dream Meet and at Gold Medal Night. So, and then of course, donations are always great too.
Well, as mentioned, mentoring. If you'll tutor your students over at McClure, that would be wonderful. We have volunteers at our facility Monday through Friday. We only have 4 staff people. So volunteers really are very critical to our program. When we receive pallets of school supplies from national manufacturers and retailers, or we receive donations from the community, those supplies have to be processed, and as I mentioned earlier, everything is inventoried and is barcoded. And so volunteers help us with processing our supplies, inventorying, stocking the shelves, assisting with our teachers when they come for school supplies. So there are a lot of really wonderful opportunities. Last year, over 800 volunteers provided, I think it was 1,600 hours of volunteer service to our program. Last year, I'll share with you that our teachers received an average of $2,000 worth of school supplies for their students and classrooms. No. We use a point of sale inventory data system. So when a teacher checks out, they receive an emailed itemized receipt of everything they received that day and the retail value were they to go to the store and purchase those items. So I can tell you at any given moment how, who came, what they took, how much. Deborah used to get the reports. Well, the POS is really pretty easy to use. Now, sending the reports to all of our principals and then to the superintendents, that's additional work on top of it. But our volunteers, we have volunteers who come at 10 o'clock in the morning and then opt to stay and work until 6 that night. So our volunteers have a good time. We have volunteers who met through the pencil box and now travel together. During COVID, as things began to kind of open up, we had to suspend all of our in-house activity during COVID. They called and said, "We've been sipping wine on our porch and we miss you all. May we come back?" So.
Okay. All right. This will be our last question/comment.
First of all, Deborah, thank you for all you have done for education in our community. I have to tell you, I am one of your biggest fans, and our class has been very generous for McClure Elementary, and you know that I'm not going to stop asking. So kind of like Nancy, all right, you have an opportunity to volunteer and mentor.